Good morning, everyone. Can we do that again? Good morning, everyone. I want to express my appreciation, Elder Cooper, for the inspiration from God's Word. It's really meaningful. Thank you for that. Thank you for the invitation, Doctor. Appreciate that. I feel privileged and I'm humbled by the opportunity. With the limited time available, I will very briefly share with you the subject that was requested of me, and that was to deal with leading change. And to make it practical, I'd like to tell you the Vista Clinic story. We can have a lot of theory here, which I will end with, but we need to tell the story so that that theory can be understood more practically. So in terms of my presentation summary, and I'll rush through some of this unfortunately, I will tell you what the founder story was about, how the governance of the hospital is put together, an overview on our statistics, where we were 10 years back and the previous 10 years, where we find ourselves at the moment. And then the focus would be on leading change, meaning elements why change does not succeed. It is research that the brain is unable to deal with a negative. Let me explain that to you. I'd like you not to think of blue. So, who didn't think of blue? Okay, so point being, by telling you what not to do, hopefully you would get what to do. Okay. As it is in the healthcare industry, legislated in South Africa, I have to declare my interest. I do not have any interest, conflicting interest. There are, in my presentation, if you want to receive it, the recognition and reference slide at the end. I give special recognition to the Harvard Business School in terms of change management. Vista Clinic was founded by Dr. Japie Vermaak in 1984, and it had to do with him being a specialized psychiatrist and losing a patient to suicide in an acute hospital, a general hospital, and realizing that there was not a therapeutic environment, a therapeutic milieu to really care for the patients in the most effective multidisciplinary environment. He set out and basically started the hospital adjacent to his house with the first 12 beds, eventually 24 beds, and today it's a 160-bed private psychiatric hospital. The governance system is in a legal framework and very specifically set up with a board of trustees, and you might recognize some of the faces there. 10 board of trustees and 10 directors in terms of legislation in different businesses, and each of those representing a key and specialized area, focusing on governance, focusing on clinical governance, education, and finances. That's the composition of the board. The board has to its disposal invitees that specializes and basically deals with the executive management part of the hospital, which the CEO, the Director Medical Services, as well as the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and Prof. Pochempel, who's now retired and will be replaced shortly, has a specialization in terms of nurse development and nurse caring. What is Vista Clinic? It provides mental health services to people that are 16 years and older. This is also part of the South African legal framework. And basically the most frequent conditions that we treat are mood and anxiety disorders such as depression, bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorders, etc. The whole focus is really to empower people, and I'll come back to that, so that they can cope with emotional and psychological problems such as anxiety and depression. The Vista Clinic is believed to have become the go-to healing facility when it comes to mental illness. The governance and organizational structure is basically in terms of two legal bodies, a board of trustees, a board of directors, with an executive management and then multidisciplinary associates that is contracted with the hospital. We are extremely privileged to have as the chair of the board Dr. Peter Landless, who is well known to us, and he is the General Conference Health Ministry's director. He chairs the board of trustees and the board of directors. Our multidisciplinary team associates are numerous psychiatrists, up to 25, dedicated specialists, some of them super specialists in psychiatry, more than 70 allied clinicians, biokineticists, pharmacists, didactic group therapists, dietitians, music therapists, occupational therapists, social workers. So it's a multidisciplinary team that is associated by contract with Vista Clinic. Just to give you an idea of the look and feel of our staff, we sport a professional and disciplined environment. Yet, we really make good use of the creativity amongst the staff members. A basic look at the hospital. This is a relatively new wing that was added to the hospital in 2012, 2013. Passages, gardens. The environment is very conducive to therapy, and it creates the idea of bringing nature or bring the patient in contact with nature. Vista Clinic is the only hospital in South Africa in the psychiatric environment that at its heart, in the center, has a chapel. The Board of Trustees has taken a very important decision that spirituality is part of the whole person well-being. And so, if a patient is admitted, the patient and the family will pass this chapel. It's a beautiful chapel, and it's named after Dr. I'm just checking if my chairman remember that. Betty and Warren Staples, who was the previous chair of the board. And there's a beautiful history to it that is basically a monument of the first Seventh-day Adventist presence on the continent of Africa in the small little church of Kimberley in the Northern Cape. It signifies what that little church looks inside. So I'm going to come back to this because this is key in terms of who we are and what we do. Our patient data is, you can see that the diseases, the admission diseases at Vista, hugely depression, bipolar disorders, anxiety, psychotic disorders, other diseases. We admit more female than men. There's no time to discuss why that is and what the reason is, but it's sitting at a ratio of 65 to 35%. The race ratio is spread, but it is predominantly black African from different countries in Africa. And then in terms of the dependency statistics, you can see alcohol is a major problem. Cannabis, cat, cocaine, heroin, nyope, and the other related drugs. Age ratio is a very interesting stat. You can see that the 26 to 55 is actually the active work employment age group that is the core of our patient population. These are the people that's supposed to be at work, but they are ill, and we treat them. So going back to 2009 and the years before 2009. At that stage, the hospital had 112 beds, and Vista Clinic was one of approximately 30 psychiatric hospitals and was a member of the National Hospital Network, a network of over 200 acute hospitals, day clinics, psychiatric hospitals in the hospital space. The National Hospital Network is the largest private hospital network in South Africa. We compete with the Mediclinics, Netcare, and Life. Those are the 4 hospital groups. 2018, Vista Clinic has associations, and we have branded ourselves, and we are known to be associated and major share owned by the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Adventist Professional Health Humanitarian Services, and we have bilateral agreements with other Adventist hospitals on the continent of Europe. We're a member of the Hospital Association of South Africa, and also, remember 2009, we were a member of one of those 200 hospitals. I'll come to the change story, but so you know where we are at the moment. So today, Vista did not only become a member of the NHN or received a seat on the board of directors or chair of subgroups. Today, Vista Clinic chairs the National Hospital Network. This is the Seventh-day Adventist Church that has influence on the National Hospital Network in the country of South Africa. 2016, Vista Clinic received a very prestigious award, the Centurion of the Year Award. This award is one of 13 chapters in the country of best businesses by the Business Chamber. And in 2016, Vista received that Best Business Award through its founder member, Dr. Japie Vermaak. We're in the process of finalizing the COSASA accreditation, which is International Quality Improvement in Healthcare. We have our own family there that deals with safety and deals with nurse care as well as environment. And it's a family of leaves. It is a way that we communicate to our patients, to our visitors, and also to our staff. In addition, Vista also has an academy that is the leader in continued professional development. It was established in 2012, and the academy is now also bilaterally agreed by contract with the Foundation of Professional Development, which is a large foundation, the largest foundation in terms of professional development. We've extended our reach into another province with license pending on potentially another hospitals. Beautiful, beautiful environment, and at the heart of it, always a chapel or a church. Vista Clinic is the founder, the owner, the largest sponsor of Crazy for Walking, a 2-year-old initiative that has become a national, well-known initiative focused at the patients and destigmatizing mental illness, sharing and embracing in solidarity the pains of people that carrying within them the hurts of mental illness. The destigmatization campaign in the first week of October this past year, that 1 week received more than 50 national, international, local, and community television and radio broadcast exposure. It has become the largest destigmatization on mental illness campaign known in the country to date. We're also the initiator of Happiness Helps, an educational program. These are not businesses as such. These are community responsibility, patient-focused, community-focused initiatives that teach people on the key elements of mental wellness, apart from destigmatizing mental illness. So the Vista story. Got 15 minutes, I'll rush through this. The title of the presentation is about leading change, and you will observe a very interesting picture there, and it's of penguins in Antarctica. There's significant research done in terms of the social interaction, the motivation and drive behind penguin motivity. What makes penguins move? What makes penguins come together as a community? How does penguins engage themselves in terms of hunting, moving, breeding, and growing a community and protecting a community and being successful? And so I'm taking that imagery, that is also imagery from the business, the Harvard Business School, to share with you the story, what happened in the 8 years from the year 2000 to 2008 at Vista, and a decisive, a very key decision by the Board of Trustees, and what transpired thereafter. And then I'll share with you the what not to do. That is the don't do this, and hopefully you'll understand what to do. So the environment that we find ourselves in is an environment where we need to lead organizations. And in the missionary environment, in the healthcare environment, which is in fact an extremely competitive business environment, with a focus to be on caring for patients and healing those that hurt, we cannot get away from the reality that we have to drill also reducing costs, improve the quality of the product and the service that we provide to remain competitive. We need to, in all of this, locate new opportunities so that we can grow and remain sustainable. We have to drive out inefficiencies and increase productivity. This is the only way to stay alive in business these days. It's the only way that we can continue to be sustainable and, in effect, do our mission. How do you do that? So let me share with you some of the data. And Elder Cooper, I have to do the number thing here. You will forgive me. We're Christians, so you'll forgive me for this sin. You'll notice that the data basically starts at 2004. It's, if you can see that. Point being, I did not put the year 2000 to 2004. It was very flat. It was just a straight line. If you look carefully, you'll see the blue line is the annual turnover, and from 2000 to 2006 up to 2008, it was virtually a flat line. The red line is the total expenses. Thank you. Meaning, what did it cost us? Once again, it was a flat line. Business was good. Business carried on. At the bottom, the gray line, you could see the annual profit. It was actually, in fact, from 2000 to 2008, slightly decreasing in a flattish manner. And then something happened in 2008, 2009. And what happened was that the trustees had a very specific key strategy session where two key decisions were made. And I'll come to that. Just to show you the comparison of turnover and expenses in the spirit, you can see coming from out of a flat line in 2000 to 2007, 8, all of a sudden there was a significant climb in the turnover as well as the expenses. So there was much more business generated, much more business done. And if we take the gray line, which is the profit, you can see comparatively it just shot up. Now there are two dips. Those dips were very intentional, they were very strategic. This was business decisions. It was business reorganization, business restructuring, where the profits were so structured to be compliant with tax laws in South Africa and actually benefit the other companies within the company itself. And so it should not be construed as profit lost, but profit redirected. In terms of the annual bed days growth, you can see coming out of the flat line in 2004, there was a major increase in bed days. And then the profit per bed day, once again, before 2000 and up to 2004, the profit per bed day was sitting around using a round number of 100 Rand, let's say 10 US dollars. And then it went up and it remained above the 350. In other words, 3.5 times the profit per unit that there was. Something happened in business. Something changed from a very flat line to a significant change. What was that? So, leading change. I remember the day that the trustees met at a hotel in Centurion. And they were facing the reality of business was business as usual. Vista was one of the hospitals of many hospitals. They were looking at themselves and saying, we've had a good time, things are okay. But if we really carefully look at the data, that's what we are. We're okay. On the horizon, there was some smoke. There were some signs that the market is becoming very turmoilish, that competitors were entering the market, that Vista was slipping slowly away out of sight and out of significance. And the trustees took the following two key decisions. They considered selling. They considered, let's call it a day, we can get good price, can put the money in the bank, live off the interest, distribute the interest to the community projects that we've always done. But they decided, no, we want to be different. And the one decision they made, I've never heard before in the industry, was to make the patient the primary client. What does that mean? It's not to look at bottom line, not to look at profit margins, but to really care for the patient. Wow. Can you imagine that such a decision had such a huge business impact? So things had to be different. The doctors had the prime parking right in front of the hospital so that they could easily access the elevators and get to their offices. Well, if the patient is the primary client, they should get the best parking. Wow, that's quite a mind shift. Who's the important one on our campus? It's the patient's family. And so the doctors, we had to give them good parking, but they didn't get the prime parking spots. The patients are getting. This is a simple example of changing a paradigm of patient becoming first. The second decision they took was not to just take it and die slowly and to leave the healthcare environment with we've had a good ride, it was okay, but to be the leader by example. To lead the industry by example in a business model that is going to be looked at as, how do you do such a thing? That you actually use your bottom line to focus on patients and on the community and on the needs of the community. And so I'm forever grateful for the trustees giving me the best job in the world. I make money to give it away for the best cause. We give it away as trustees, a majority shareholder, to Adventist AIDS International. We share it with mission hospitals, with important things such as Crazy for Walking, with the herds of people. And that focus, that change, really brought about a huge business intervention change. So, quickly, I've got 5 minutes left. I'm going to run through 8 key reasons in a practical way, factually, why change does not succeed. Number 1, to allow much complacency. Complacency creates with us just a status quo. 2008, we were okay. Things were all right. But the decision the trustees did was to create a high sense of urgency and to bring that to the managers, to the employees, and telling them, guys, the comfort zone that we are in terms of we're okay is not okay. If we continue being okay, we will be dead soon. So we have to change that. And everybody's comfort zone of 10 years of just ticking it over and getting things done had to be changed radically. The past success that we have had profits, there was not really a major crisis coming in those 10 years, but creating the urgency that if we continue like this, the imminent future is unsustainable death. Sounds terrible, but those were the facts that we were facing. People would usually say, yes, we've got problems. Yes, we're struggling, but we're okay. We're not bad. We're doing our jobs. This is the first reason why change will never happen. To just be okay. Second, and unfortunately I cannot exaggerate and tell you the stories about it. Failing to create a meaningful and a powerful coalition. What does that mean? No single executive, sorry hospital managers, sorry nurse managers, sorry director of medical services, sorry board chair, no single executive, and even worse, weak committees can affect change. What it takes to transform from being okay to being the leader and to really make a difference is that the chair, the head, the general manager, the CEO, heads of departments, and according to the business school, 15% of your population need to be committed on board as a team to improve prominence and to affect change. Now you might say 15%. It's actually very small, marginal. But you need the key leadership, and you need that number, and then you can tip it over. Without that, and obviously this deals a lot with strategy, how do you get those people on board? How do you harness a team spirit? Lots of discussion about that. But no single individual can change it. You need a team to do so. Individuals alone, irrespective of their competency, their charisma, cannot change and overcome tradition or just the inertia of we are okay. Number 3, underestimating the power of a vision. Urgency and a strong guiding team, they are necessary, but they're not enough for a major change. So when I got to Vista, we were having discussions with the team. We said, so where do you see Vista? Say, well, we're seeing Vista as being a psychiatric hospital. Okay, so what more do you see? We see Vista as a psychiatric hospital in Centurion. Do you see anything more? Well, we're a specialized psychiatric hospital in Centurion. Okay, do you see more? We're a specialized psychiatric hospital in Centurion. Yes, that's what we are. And to create the vision that Vista Clinic is to be the leader in Centurion, in Gauteng, in the country, on the continent. And hey guys, because we have such a unique business model, because we are so well positioned, we might just as well lead in many aspects globally. We're a psychiatric hospital here in Centurion. So the urgency of creating a big vision where the whole team was necessary before any major change could happen. And so sensible vision is key to successful transformation. It directs, it aligns, it inspires actions in large numbers of people, meaning that you have to be able to describe a significant, large, big vision that's achievable with the team that you have in a very short span of time. Vista Clinic, the leader in private psychiatric care. Vista Clinic, the leader in private psychiatric care. The leader in private psychiatric care. This is not about boasting. This is about creating within a team a very specific drive and a pride and a willingness and energy to really become that which we have the potential of becoming. We're Adventists. We've got the health message. We're sitting on an asset that we're not utilizing. We have, in our association with clinicians, more psychiatrists in one hospital than north of the Limpopo River together in the rest of the continent of Africa. Do you understand where we're at? Why do we just sit on this and not harness it? Number 4, and give me 2 minutes to get through the other 4. Is that okay? Under-communicating the vision. Now, I wish I had time to tell you about this. Without credible communication, and a lot of it, employees' hearts and minds are never captured. Change is possible when employees buy into the point of making short-term sacrifices. There are three patterns. There are three patterns of ineffective communication. One, we've got a great vision, so let's have a couple of meetings and we will share it with some of the key people. It's not good communication. You will not succeed. Another one is the CEO really gets to where the tire meets the road and he talks with all of the employees. His leadership is sitting there and just looking at him. Ineffective communication. There's another issue, and that is to put a lot of effort in communication. High visibles are unfortunately blockers to the vision. You can communicate as much as you want. There's someone else communicating something else. Your change will not be effective. So I cannot go into the detail of that, but maybe I'll tell you one story shortly. And this has got to do with permitting obstacles to block the new vision. Convincing change leaders and partners that external barriers does not exist, or at least can be overcome. So we had a key person there. The key person became known as the Rock, stood fast, stable, but resisted change. I remember the day the individual left. We had to confront it. Because that blocker became a stumbling block of further change. It's impossible to have a VRV system. Nobody will understand it. It's impossible to keep maintenance to this level. Where are we going to get the money? It's impossible. The word impossible was incultured in the language of this blocker, a key person. Which brings me to a very important thing. Many times the barriers are in the people's heads. And the blockers are very, very real. And they push back on change. A well-placed blocker can stop an entire change effort. So whenever smart and well-intentioned people avoid confronting the obstacles, they disempower employees, they undermine change, you have to confront. I had to meet with this person. We had to discuss where we're going. I had to ask the person, are you going to be part of this change or not? The person considered it, came back and said, you know what, I've thought about this. It's not going to work for me. The person left our employ. The blocker was out of the way. It takes confrontation to really deal with the obstacles that block new vision. Failing to create short-term wins, last three, friends, very importantly, real transformation takes time. The millennials think that if they're in the job for 2 weeks, they need to see the whole turnover of the organization. I appointed a key person, a millennial. 3 months later, she came in the office and she cried. And I said, what's wrong? She said, I've been here 3 months. I've been unable to change anything. Change does take time. If you want to change a culture, if you want to change a habits, you have to be patient about it, but very intentional and focused. It is said that organizational change starts happening at 3 years and takes up to 10 years to become part of the culture. So you have to, in that long period, celebrate the short victories. I see Dr. Jerry at the back there. Dr. Jerry is our Director of Medical Services. We visited Loma Linda, and he walked around there, and he said, you know what? This is a smoke-free campus. Let's make Vista Clinic smoke-free. Now, let me explain this to you. This is a psychiatric hospital in South Africa. When our patients come and they're admitted, our nurse managers light up their cigarettes and have a nice chat with them. It's therapeutic. This is a psychiatric environment in South Africa. How can you make a psychiatric environment where every patient smokes and the nurses smoke and everybody's smoking because we chill here? We're making friends behind a nice cigarette, make this a smoke-free environment. You must be crazy, Dr. Jerry. So the chairman of the board said, Jerry, that's your vision, make it happen. The team rallied around Dr. Jerry. We sold the idea. And in stages, not overnight, we smoke free. In stages, systematically, intentionally, well thought through, we came to the place where there was a smoking zone for 2 groups. And the visitors could still smoke on campus. We came to a place where our staff was sent on smoking cessation programs. No more staff smoking. Now the patients are limited and we have a smoke-free Vista Clinic. We celebrate it today. But you know what? Today, in South Africa, the private psychiatric hospital environment is a smoke-free hospital environment. We celebrated every moment of change and could influence not just a single hospital, its patients and clinicians, with a lot of pushback and trouble, but we've been able to influence an industry nationwide. There's still some of those out there that are struggling with it. But do celebrate your successes, your short-term wins, so to speak. Number 7, declaring victory too soon. If ever you say, guys, we have arrived, you've lost change. So there's a concept of elastic stretching. To stretch, but before it breaks, give it a little bit of a release. But to keep the tension there. Never, ever come to the point where you say, we have arrived. We've worked a few years very hard. We might be tempted to declare victory. We are the leader. Everybody's benchmarking. Vista has become the employer of choice. Whenever anyone wants to ask anything about psychiatry, they call Vista. They call the chair of the National Hospital. I had 5 calls yesterday from our largest competitors, from another hospital group. What are you doing at Vista about this and this? We've become the benchmark, but we have not arrived. We've become the leader, but we're not there yet. So do not declare victory too soon. Last one. Neglecting to anchor changes firmly in corporate culture. Unfortunately, I've run out of time. In the final analysis, change sticks only when it becomes, this is the way we do things around here. Things that were never heard of, things that was not part of our culture, it is now simply how we do things. It has become the way, who we are. And until you've been able to establish that, change has not been effective. I've just given you 8 of the don't do this. Hopefully you'll understand what to do. Lead the change by example. Communicate the change by example. Make your primary client the person, the individual that suffers most, that you care about the most. But you have to drive through leadership. God bless you.